Hi, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Tasha Jackson, and welcome to my channel if you're new, and thank you for returning if you have been with me for a while. I would like to make today's video about an update for my long COVID journey, but then also I want to use this as an opportunity to start a new series called Tasha's Long COVID Kitchen, because I'm sure that there are other people out there with long COVID that need help, assistance, need some ideas of how to kind of function with a new body. It's just basically my what have I learned, right? My whole channel is about practical guidance. So what have I learned on my journey, and then how can I share that with other people? So if you're struggling with your own long COVID journey and you have some tips and tricks for other people, please comment below. You never know who you are going to inspire with your comments. So the last video that I made was at the end of July, and I had, just to give you a very short recap, so I had the Omicron variant in January, and I was very, very sick for 3 weeks. And then after that, I was okay-ish. And then at the end of maybe March is whenever I had a viral reactivation. And the viral reactivation was worse than the initial infection, to be honest. And during the initial infection, I almost died twice. I was not in the hospital. I was not hospitalized. I was treating myself at home with plant medicine, but I almost died twice. And then whenever I had the worst of my long COVID, that period of time, I think it was maybe 3 times that I had a really severe kind of heart attack type heart palpitation situation on top of some other things, including an incredibly wrecked GI tract where I couldn't eat anything at all. I was living off of supplements because I could not eat solid food, and then even trying to put liquefied food into my body was starting to become a challenge. And so where have I kind of progressed since then? Because obviously I'm semi-healthy. I did lose an incredible amount of weight, as you can imagine, your body being deprived of nutrients and then scrambling to try to put things in. I've always been a pretty health conscious person, but little did I know that it was my health conscious lifestyle that was making me more sick. And so why is that? Why did I end up getting much more sick? Well, in that video, I did talk about how I have, where I'm immunocompromised. I do have autoimmune issues. I have no tonsils. I had leaky gut from before because I'm a child of the 80s, 90s kid with all the processed food and everything. And so as I started to be able to regain my ability to eat, I had to dive really heavy back into food science. I have always been a very strong proponent of cellular function. So we have cells, lots of different types of cells in our body, and they all need specific nutrients, elements, minerals, vitamins, trace minerals, those kinds of things. It's really complicated. I'm not going to go into the food science thing here. I do have a bunch of playlists that I created whenever I was sick, like all of the research that I do, and just, things that are generally my curiosities. So if you guys want to check out those playlists that are on my channel, you're more than welcome to. I hope that there's something there that can be beneficial for everyone. But I really I found that my health started to improve whenever I started focusing on cellular function. Sorry about that. My son had an emergency. It's fall break this week, so the kids are home. Anyway, so back to cellular function. So I started really digging into cellular function, molecular biology. There is look at my plant medicine research. All of this is widely available through different branches of the government. So the NIH or PubMed. A lot of the things that I'm speaking about today, you can go to those websites and you can get that information. And then also there is a journal called the Journal of Molecular Biology. You can go onto their database and you can search different things, and then you would be able to find that research, whatever topic that it is that you're looking for. To my knowledge, there still has not been very much research out about the Omicron variant because it's still kind of new and it's still kind of lingering. There is, of course, what I call COVID Classic. There's a lot more research and information about COVID Classic and the Delta variant because, that was 2 years ago. And so the Omicron variant came out like November, December, January, February this year. So there really hasn't been much that I have seen. If you have more research or more information, again, let's build a community here, add those things in the comments below. So after I figured out my cardiac issues, so my cardiac issues were being caused by an electrolyte imbalance, which is something that I had never experienced before or had heard of before. And so essentially what happens is whenever you're low on potassium, you have a lot of arrhythmias. Your blood pressure spikes. Your heart just doesn't really know what to do. That the rhythm is of your heart beats very fast, very hard, very slow. Sometimes it can't regulate itself. And so the way that I was able to kind of remedy that, of course, was to increase my potassium and magnesium intake, but also you have to pay attention to the other electrolytes as well, because if you throw one electrolyte out of balance, then they're all out of balance. It's a very delicate dance in between the five of them to make sure that you are getting enough nutrients to sustain your body's electrical system. Also, mushrooms are an incredibly important part of supporting your body's electrical system. And to be honest, in my opinion, although I am not a medical professional, I am not a doctor, I have just been studying the body and plant medicine for 22, 23 years, something like that, whenever I first started out on my health and wellness journey, whenever I was a teenager. And so just, again, I share everything from my own personal experience, my own practical, I share my practical guidance from my own personal experience, unless it is from my profession, which then I will speak to that. However, so I feel that the electrical system is one of the most ignored systems of the body. And without electricity, your brain cannot work, which is how I was able to overcome the COVID brain fog, was a lot of mushrooms and, increasing my electrolytes. Because the electrical system of the brain sustains damage, right? There are a lot of news articles and there are a lot of research about COVID actually kills off many of the brain cells. Well, you can regrow those things with the right amount of nutrients. And so again, if you're supporting your body's electrical system, your cells are able to then think of it like a car battery. Like whenever your car battery dies, you use jumper cables, right? So the electrolytes and the mushrooms are the jumper cables for your cells. And so that's essentially what I had to do. Was I had to resuscitate and regrow all of these different connections in my brain, my cells, things like that. Another important part of that process that I have found is intermittent fasting. So I would eat from 12 p.m., so noon, lunchtime, and then I would stop eating around 8 p.m. So I would only have maybe an 8-hour window. Now, that was on a really good day because there were plenty of days where I could only eat once. And that was it because I was nauseous, I was fatigued, mostly nauseous, either nauseous, I couldn't eat anything, or nauseous that I had eaten something and I was about to throw it back up. Um, or I just had no appetite whatsoever that I didn't want to eat. And so there were a lot of times when I had to kind of force myself through it in order to have the right amount of nutrients because nutraceuticals are also incredibly expensive. And so and then you don't want your body to just live off of supplements, right? So I managed to figure out a lot of the fatigue, a lot of the brain fog is coming from electrolyte imbalance. So I started paying more attention to my potassium and magnesium intake, beet tops. So if you buy beets with the tops attached to them in the grocery store, make sure that you buy the organic kind. What I would do was I would create smoothies, usually with lots of bananas and lots of dates, because it's not very tasty. My kids call me the queen of eating and drinking nasty things at this point because that's what I feel like. But they're the nutritious things, you have to eat them. And so I would make these smoothies with the beet tops because beet tops have more potassium than any other fruit or vegetable in the entire fruit and vegetable kingdom. So get beet tops, put a whole bunch of stuff in there, to make it not taste gross and then just drink that because listen, one of the things that I was not told as a kid was whenever you don't want to eat your vegetables, you can drink your vegetables. You just need to get the nutrients in your body. That is the most important thing. Just get the nutrients into your body, even if you have to drink it through a straw. Just get those molecules inside your body because again, we're looking at molecular structures, we're looking at cellular function. And so um, that was how I had recovered from the brain fog and the chronic fatigue. But then I needed to start to rebuild my muscles. So I slowly started exercising again. I did have some physical therapy routines from whenever I would go to the physical therapist before that I started doing to really ease myself in. Um, one playlist I should probably create is a workout one. So it's actually workouts that after you have a baby, it's hard to start working out again because all your muscles are all bleh. So you want to start off really, really slowly. So so those postpartum workouts were actually really key and really vital for me to build my strength back up to where I wouldn't need to lay down half of the day or I wouldn't have so much fatigue half of the day. Because again, you are what you eat. Food is fuel for our body. So if we start treating food that way, if we shift the mindset away from all the packaged foods or going out to eat and it all tastes delicious, you can make really great, nutritious meals at home really quick and easy because trust me, single mom train, right? Like I don't have time to cook for 3 or 4 hours, right? I sometimes maybe have 30 to 45 minutes for the entire meal. So I'm a fan of pre-cut things, which is not the best, but hey, like you just have to do what you have to do, right? So I buy a lot of pre-cut fruits and vegetables so that I can get them home and spend less time being my own sous chef. So one of the main struggles that I had from July up until now was definitely still having food triggers. So again, in that video, I talked about mast cell activation syndrome. I talked about histamine, um, having an abundance of histamine in your bloodstream. You have to flush all of, excuse me, you have to flush all of that out. And so once you get to a point where you flushed all of that out, it's kind of like, okay, now what? But there are still triggering foods. And it was always, you eat one food at a time to see how you'll react to it. But again, it's a situation of, well, I'm still not working a full-time job. And if I was and I would try to eat, then if I get sick at work, then I would have to leave. Or if my blood pressure would go up, right? Or if I was running low on electrolytes, like, I have concoctions that I'll show you that I have made that I'll share with you all. Um, just as a really quick fix. It's not a long-term sustainable thing, but it's just a quick fix. And so I was gifted with a knowledge of knowing that there is a such thing as a food intolerance test. Now, when I started to figure out the foods that I could eat, of course, I stuck with those foods. But then what ended up happening was I created an imbalance in nutrients in my body. And so then my body started rejecting those foods again. So then where does that leave me? That leaves me back kind of in the same boat that I was in before. And I don't know how prevalent food intolerance tests are online. The one that I use, again, was referred to me by someone that has IBS, and her brother had MS. Anybody who has any bowel issues, IBS, IBD, Crohn's, that kind of thing. Hopefully you can get something out of this video as well, because again, it's all GI kind of stuff. So I took the food intolerance test, and come to find out I was intolerant to most things in life. So what do you do? So I made a list. So these are the foods that on the food intolerance test, they're like my safe foods. Okay. So I kind of categorize them in between the healthy fats, the fruits. Of course, I'm not giving that up. So hooray, that's on the list. Different kinds of nuts and seeds, because that's incredibly important as well, having enough nuts and seeds in your diet. And then beef. I was a pescatarian for the most part, but I do eat beef. So I put on here beef, and then the fish things. And then these are these things. These are the herb things. And then some of the sweeteners: beans, no legumes, beans, and then the vegetables that I could eat. And then if I want to have some kind of caffeinated beverage, because there are just days that you just need caffeinated beverages, then green tea is what I can have. Now, some of the things on the list are also high histamine. So, for example, green tea, if you're still struggling with histamine issues, you're going to have to really look to see, okay, these are the foods that I can eat, but what are also the things that potentially, if I consume in excess, is going to put me back in a histamine situation. And so you're going to have to be really, really careful with that. So today is the first day. I'm going to take you downstairs to my kitchen, and today is the first day that I have gone shopping with the things on the list, and I'm going to try to recreate these things, like create meal plans. And I have to do this for, like, let's say a minimum of 6 weeks, but a maximum of 3 months. So that's a pretty long time to try to heal the gut, because again, my goal at this point is to heal the leaky gut, because that's where the majority of our immune system lives. And so healing the gut is going to, hopefully, fingers crossed, help me to improve my immunity now and in the future. And so, without too much more delay, let's go downstairs to the kitchen, and I will show you the meal that I have planned out for today, and then the inspiration for that, because I love food. I'm a foodie. I have numerous subscriptions to food blogs. Or vlogs. I have huge stacks of magazines with recipes. And whenever you're in the grocery store and you're like, oh, air fryer recipes, let me grab that. There's a whole lot of them in there. That's me. I love to cook. I love to eat. Food is a major part of my life. But now just kind of shifting my perception about the way that food functions in my life, and what food is for, and just really making sure that I'm using it to support my physical body and giving me energy in a way that sustains me throughout the day. All right. So All right, let's go down to the kitchen and let's see what I got waiting for today.